I think we can start. It's 3 o'clock and 1 minute here in Europe. Welcome, everybody. Welcome for joining us on our social channels and here on Zoom. Very welcome. This is our last roundtable of the first semester, or at least the season. We're already in the second semester, but of our season. And we are very brave, at least here in Europe, to be here, as half of Europe is already on holidays, at least in the Nordic countries, and even Brussels and the European institutions are leading toward the holidays and the holiday season. So Parliament and Commission are, going away for what is being a very hot season, but it's a very hot season also from the legislative and regulatory point of view, since there are big discussion going on in Europe, particularly on deforestation and the due diligence, and particularly some commodities. And here we are today to talk about the most beloved commodities that we have, and it's palm oil. Why we talk about palm oil? Because when we talk about food security, and in this unfortunate time with the lockdown, with the war in Ukraine, we so much have feared that food security was under threat. Actually, food security has been under threat for many years, but we have been working hard to reduce it. But unfortunately, in the past months, the food security, particularly in some areas of the world, has been very, very, very much under threat. And we've been discussing how this is possible, where this crisis is coming from, and how we can actually tackle the crisis. And as usual, we come up to our main question. Every day, we need to produce 16 trillion. That's a gigantic number of calories and of energy to move, all human beings, and to give them a secure and safe and healthy and today sustainable food. And how do we produce this energy? Well, there's many ways to do so, because we need sugar, we need fats, we need proteins, and in order to produce this, we need a lot of land. But when it's about obviously it's about fat, one of the best way to produce fats is through vegetable oils. And when we talk about vegetable oils, we also talk about sunflower, soy oil, rapeseed oil or canola oil, and obviously the biggest one, that is palm oil. And if we look at the picture of the last few months, particularly starting with the conflict in Ukraine, we see that there's been an unknown decrease of obviously import and export of sunflower from Ukraine. Other countries are trying to make it up, but still the majority, 66%, is coming from the east part of the world, and particularly from Ukraine and Russia. And the big question is what is going to happen from now on when, Ukraine is about to crunch the oil and distribute the oil all around the world and export it. And so there's a big unknown. Some people say minus 30%, some people say minus 40% from Ukraine. Well, we wish that there will be 100% of sunflower oil coming from Ukraine. But as we know, this is not probably going to happen. So there's many other alternatives out there, alternatives that are going through very hard time. If we think about a big climate change or big climate challenge, particularly the drought in the United States and in many other parts of the world because of La Nina, and in other parts of the world, particularly the Pacific part of the world, because of El Nino. So there's big challenges out there. So we talk about the conflict in Ukraine, the bottlenecks and the disruption in the supply chain, and obviously the climate, the big climate challenge. But despite that, there is an oil that has been there, as always, continuously to flow around the world. And today is also, lost some heavy price, and the price is going down to the very old amount of money. So it's very competitive. And as we said, it's very resilient. And this palm oil, big challenge of being healthy, big challenge of being sustainable, but certainly it has been resilient. And with resilient, we mean is multi-sourcing. It's coming from many, many countries. And obviously, most of the focus has been on Malaysia. Most of the focus has been on the biggest producer, Indonesia. But in the past few years, we realized that there are many countries that have been producing a very sustainable, very healthy, very big quality oil. And these countries are not in Asia. They are in Africa. And today we have a guest from Nigeria, and they are in Central America. And today we have 3 guests from Central America, particularly from Colombia, Ecuador, and Guatemala. And we call them the rising star and raising star. And, we got a discussion. Rising stars, yes, obviously stars are going up, but also raising. It means they're getting bigger and bigger. And, at Competere, we've been publishing recently our most recent report on the import in Europe and in Italy and in the Netherlands of palm oil. And there were big surprises. And these surprises are here today. Countries that are exporting very much and more to Europe, and they are growing fast, and they are very much appreciated here in Europe. So not say that they are competing with the big numbers of Indonesia or Malaysia, but they're growing and they are doing a great job. And, they are supplying the planet. And here we are with them. And so today I have a beautiful panel. I have two gentlemen and I have two ladies. The two ladies are from Ecuador and from Guatemala. From Guatemala, we have Karen Rosales. And from Ecuador, I have Angela Alvarez. And then obviously I have my good friend from Colombia, Juan Fernando Mendoza. And then a new entry. And the new entries is Alfonso Imiang. Help me with the pronunciation because my pronunciation of Nigerian English is horrible. But let me start with these beautiful speakers who will introduce us to the rising stars of palm oil. And so I want to start, and I will go in alphabetical order. I should start with a lady. But gender equality, we start from countries. And so I will follow perfect alphabetical order. I would start with obviously Colombia and also with Juan Fernando, also because Juan has asked me to start first since he has another commitment. So Juan, the floor is yours. Don't forget that we are recording, and that means this video will be online forever. We will produce as usual video clips. We will share slides, and we're live now on Facebook and on YouTube, where we have many other followers. So Juan, the floor is yours. We go with a round of 8 minutes each, and then we take some more questions from my side. Juan, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pietro. Thank you for letting us be here, telling our story, and a very warm salute to all the panelists that are here with us today. I'm going to just share screen to show some few slides I have prepared to make it easier for everyone. So please let me know if you already have them.
Perfect. We can see them perfect.
Yeah.
Great. So in Colombia, as you said, we're part of the Rising Stars. Colombia is a country that already has a long tradition of palm oil, but the amounts of crop we have right now are not that as Indonesia and Malaysia. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how we're doing things in Colombia and where we are at right now and how we are transforming our rural sector, our fields, what we call the more distant areas we have in our country, which of course are. And let me first just show you this image because I love to talk about the palm growers here in Colombia. And here you can see Adolfo and Luis Enrique. Adolfo and Luis Enrique are two small palm growers, smallholders in Urabá, which is unfortunately very known for violence and very difficult conditions. But what you can see here is you have two people that have been winners of the Best Smallholder Award because of their production. We're talking about 40 tons plus fresh fruit bunch per year hectare, and we're talking about more than 7 tons of oil in two smallholders in Urabá. And they're also working with a hybrid we have of American African palm oil. And what you can see what happens with Adolfo and Luis Enrique is this. You can see this is Adolfo's house. You can see that this is what palm produces. And you can see probably this is a better car than most of us has. This is Adolfo's car also. And this is what palm brings. It brings development. It brings benefits for everyone. It brings the possibility to get out of poverty for many people. And I want to start with faces because many times we talk about palm oil, we talk about deforestation, we talk about all the problems that are associated with palm, but we don't talk about the people. And people are one of the main reasons why we are here and why we love this crop, right? Colombia has become the fourth largest producer after Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, of course, but just with 2% of production. So we're still really, really small. As you can see, we have around 600,000 hectares, which is pretty small compared with all the other the largest producer countries, but still we're the largest producer in America. So we're a little bit bigger than Ecuador and Guatemala, but I'm sure they're doing their best also to keep on catching up and also having the advantage of palm oil as it is. We're in 21 regions or states, as we call them here in Colombia, and we're in 161 municipalities of almost a little bit more than 1,000 that has Colombia. But what you see there as the numbers of PDETA and SOMAC, which of course I know you don't know what that is. But here in Colombia, because of the circumstances we have had of violence, which again is really known around the world. SOMAC means that areas that have been affected by violence, right? Very, very much affected. So the half of the municipalities where palm is in Colombia have been affected by violence. And that's very important because what you see is that we are present in very difficult regions in our country. We have almost 70 mills working, 12 biodiesel plants, and around 7,000 palm oil growers. But what's most important about that is that 85% of them are small scale or smallholders, less than 50 hectares. Average actually is just 12 hectares. So we're talking about people like Luis Enrique and Adolfo that we just saw, right? So those are kind of numbers that we have right now in Colombia. But most important is how we're doing it. And we like to talk about how Colombia has been addressing the deforestation issue. What we know is that in Colombia, we can talk about very, very, very low deforestation rates. You can see that from different studies and from a baseline that has been defined by Colombian authorities, environmental authorities, less than 4% of the deforestation during 2011 to 2017 can be associated with palm. And in the last measurement we have in 2018, it even came down to less than 0.22%, right? So we talk about very, very low deforestation rates associated with the palm crop in Colombia. And that's also associated with being a member of RSPO and having around 30% of our oil already certified by RSPO or ISCC standards. So we're not only have the images and studies that demonstrate we're very low in deforestation, but we're also doing the job around having certificate palm oil and sustainable palm oil for the foreign markets. And that's very important to have in mind. Also, in Colombia, one of the things we have is that I already mentioned we have around 85% of smallholders, but they're pretty much of them are in schemes, in associations that work with the bigger mills or bigger companies, and that helps a lot for them to get out of poverty and be more productive. But also the jobs that our sector produces are very high informality. In Colombia, just for you to have an image, almost 85% of the rural jobs are informal. They don't have no kind of contract, right? 85% in rural Colombia. The average in our country is around 60% of informality, right? The Colombian palm oil sector has 82% of formality. The jobs in our sector are highly formal, and they have very nice and very well established contracting standards. So over the 190,000 jobs we generate around our country, we have very high formality, and also we have 1.5 times the minimum salary here in Colombia as the average salary of an employee in our sector, which of course that's 1.5 from the national average, but it's almost 3 times the average in the rural sector. So that's why we talk about transforming reality, because it's almost double or triple of what someone can receive in reality in Colombia around here. And about talking about income of smallholders, the number is around 2 to 2.5 minimum salaries a month net worth, right? So we're also talking about a very nice income of those smallholders, not only for the jobs we have. What you can also see in Colombia is that where palm is present, you will have higher education and health rates, health coverage or coverage of education in primary or secondary, right? So we bring also, because of the economic development, we also bring social impact with the communities that surround palm. And very important, and also it's very sad to say it because Colombia is known worldwide for its cocoa production, for illicit crops. But what we have to say around this is that palm has been associated with the reduction of the illicit crops. What we have seen is where palm is present at around 14% of hectares are less planted in substitution. And that's basically because palm oil is a long-term crop. People know that this will change their lives. They start to think different, and they change the difficult conditions that illicit crops bring for something a lot better and legal around what palm oil brings. And this is just a way to show how this cycle is produced, because what brings the palm oil starts with formalization, employment, better income, which also brings more investment in the areas that we're present, which also brings more taxes and more investment in environment. We have some authorities, some institutions that work for environmental purposes that receive these taxes. So they have more taxes to do a better job around environmental issues. Of course, we already said that it also brings a reduction of illicit crops, and increasing health, and increasing education. So this is the good cycle, the positive cycle that palm will bring. And this is all when you have a 1% increase in the planting area. Each one of these numbers you can see here in the planted area in each region. So what are we doing also to show the world that this is happening in Colombia? Because for us, it's very important to show not only that we're doing things right, but also that we're complying with the standards that are being expected, and as you well said, are actually right now in discussion and being produced in for example, the European Union, but we also know that it's being talked about in the USA, right? So what we're doing is we have established a strategy, a program, and an institution that around the sustainable Colombian palm oil, how we're show the world we are sustainable. And this is just a strategy that has been tailor-made for Colombian conditions to show the world how we're doing all these good things we're doing. This is aligned with SDGs, of course, with ESGs, and with due diligence and what's coming in the new European regulation, right? So what we're trying to do is get everyone on board and get everyone to comply with what we need to show the world that we're sustainable, and not only in environmental issues, but also in social issues, right? And something very important about this, that probably is one of the difference with other schemes, especially with certifications, is the governance, is that this scheme has been built with palm growers, especially taking into account smallholders, because for them, complying with certifications, it's very, very difficult. It's very costly. Certain studies and certain activities that you would have to do to get certified is almost impossible. So what we thought we should start is with a scheme that's easier for smallholders, so we can raise the bar and everybody is complying with very good practices that include different issues. And you will see a little bit about those issues right now, because I want to talk about that. And this is also a platform that will help not only the due diligence, but also to connect producers, consumers, buyers, and make it transparent and have value for everyone. What is this? This is a national commitment, a voluntary national commitment that will, through protocols and indexes, show everybody that we're complying with regulations, be it US, EU, or any other kind of regulation. It's a verification scheme. So this means that it's not only voluntary, but it will be verified by an independent institution. The Colombian certification organization is in charge of this. And this is a due diligence tool which will make it closer for producers to comply with what we are expecting will be approved in Europe, right? This is a due diligence tool for producers, of course. We can not do the whole job for due diligence because that's the whole value chain, but just to get closer producers for that. We already have the baseline for more than 3,000 producers, which is very nice, which is, if you remember the numbers, is almost half of what we have here in Colombia. So what we have right now is an index and traceability tool established and being piloted and tested. We have the baseline for more than 3,000. We have the governance, and we have a very big support here in Colombia from our authorities in order to make this a reality. What we're talking about is we're doing the job, and what we need to do is scale up in order to do it countrywide, right? And our commitments are to be at least 75% with sustainable and differentiated palm oil to offer to the market in 2025, which is just a couple of years from now. And more than 50% of the Colombian palm oil producers, of course, this includes a lot of those smallholders we're talking about, and talking about also quality and diversity management, which is very important for us, because in quality, you can have more value for palm oil growers than even in sustainability you may have. So it's another important issue. And I want to talk just a couple of minutes about how we're doing it, because
Juan, sorry, we're already very much ahead of time, extra time.
Don't worry.
So 2 minutes, you make 20 seconds.
Perfect. Don't worry, because this is the last thing I would really want to say is we're talking about social, environmental, and economic. And here you can see the principles that are pretty much like the principles we have in certification schemes and in other schemes, right? So we're doing the job like this. So I will just go, because I had one message about traceability is just a lot more difficult than in other commodities. And probably we can talk about that when we have the questions. I would just finish with this. We have a very big challenge in the world, or in the palm oil world. And we just need to have in mind that one size does not fit all. It's not the same. Every country is not the same. Every kind of producer is not the same the size. And one very important thing is that what we need to do right now is focus on what we have to do with producers. It's them that have to be sustainable. It's not a traceable system. It's the producers that are sustainable. So we need to think how we can include them, no producers left behind, and talk about productivity with them. This is a shared risk and a shared responsibility from buying and producing countries. And we just need strong partners for doing all this. This is the last thing I want to say. So thank you very much for the time you have given me for this.
Thank you so much. This is Juan Fernando Laseca Mendoza from Fede Palma in Colombia. You certainly highlighted so many information. You talk at the end about traceability. You talk about actually the most appreciated, if you can stop sharing the screen. Thank you, Juan. One of the most viewed pages on our website of Sustainable Nutrition was actually the one reporting about the illegal crops and how palm oil is replacing illegal crops. And certainly the palma, Acierde de Palma es la Vita, La Palma es la Vita, that is one of your best slogan, and I love that very much, and translated in English, palm oil is life. Talking about English, there is obviously a translation because our next speaker is going to speak in Spanish, and there is a translation thanks to our translator, Patricia, that is here in Italy and is not on holiday today, actually, to stay. Thank you so much to stay with us. Juan, your presentation obviously will be online. I'll come back with a question because you highlighted so many important aspects, but I like to stress one, that is not a spot, it's not a promotion what you did. You have also spoken about what is not working or what can be improved. And I love your last statement about no producer left behind. And when we think about legislation, we should think about everybody else. And we should think about that there are people that are moving at different speeds in different parts of the world. And actually the beauty of this discussion today is that we have not the usual suspect. We don't have just Indonesia and Malaysia, but we have small countries that are, rising, and they are doing it pretty quickly with, I think, best practices that are even of interest for the big countries. But let me move not far away from Colombia. We stay in Central America for a while now, and we have Angela Alvarez from Pro Palma. And Ecuador is certainly a fast-growing country, a fast-growing palm oil producer. And as for Colombia and the other countries, palm oil is becoming, and palm plantations are becoming actually a wonderful way to develop your country and to give hope to many, many, many smallholders. Angela, the floor is yours.
Bueno, nuevamente muy buenos días con todos. Muchísimas gracias por esta invitación. El día de hoy yo les voy a hablar acerca de cómo la palma se está convirtiendo nuevamente en una oportunidad para nuestro país. Y básicamente les voy a indicar cuáles son las cifras que lo demuestran. Primeramente les voy a hablar sobre el empleo. La palma para el Ecuador es una fuente muy generosa de empleo y también es sinónimo de desarrollo rural. Aproximadamente la palma genera 7 empleos por cada 10 hectáreas. Estamos hablando aproximadamente de 131,000 empleos solamente la palma. Esto considerando todo lo que es empleo directo y también empleo indirecto. Cuando ustedes pueden ver las provincias productoras de palma, sobre todo Esmeraldas, los ríos, se puede analizar justamente cómo la palma no solamente desarrolla el empleo solamente en las plantaciones, sino a sus alrededores, el comercio, cómo se genera, desde una pequeña tiendita hasta la tienda de insumos, fertilizantes, del transporte, todo el desarrollo que ha generado y que ha girado alrededor de la palma es gratamente admirable en estas provincias. En el Ecuador existen aproximadamente 6,578 productores, casi igual que la realidad de Colombia. El 92% de estos productores son pequeños productores con menos de 75 hectáreas y de ellos el 70% son productores, los llamamos nosotros microproductores o de economía solidaria y sostenible. Estamos hablando aproximadamente de hasta 20 hectáreas de producción, que es una economía muy pequeña que se genera con mano de obra familiar y campesina. En el Ecuador, el 70% de los productores son de esta categoría, de pequeños productores de menos de 20 hectáreas en producción. ¿Qué es para nosotros y cuál es el aporte del aceite de palma a la economía de nuestro país? En primera instancia, el cultivo de palma se encuentra entre los top 10 de los productos de exportación. En el año 2021 ocupó el puesto número 8. El cultivo genera una inversión aproximadamente de $2,266 millones en toda la cadena productiva. Estamos hablando desde la fase de producción hasta la fase de extracción y refinación. En los últimos 5 años, el cultivo ha generado divisas por exportación de aproximadamente $1,065 millones. Aparte, el cultivo de palma aporta con el 4,5% del PIB nacional agropecuario y el 5% del PIB agroindustrial. Como les mostraba en la lámina anterior, el cultivo se encuentra presente en provincias, de las 24 provincias que existen en el país, como les decía, generando desarrollo en esas zonas. Y finalmente, es uno de los cultivos más importantes en el Ecuador. En superficie es el 4º cultivo después del cacao, el maíz y el arroz. Yo les quería mostrar una lámina del plan de acción Red Más, es una lámina oficial del Ministerio del Ambiente. En esta lámina ustedes pueden ver que La Palma durante los años 2008-2014 apenas fue responsable de la deforestación del 3%. Hay muchos estudios, otros hacen probabilidades, pero esto quiero destacar. En el Ecuador, los datos oficiales muestran que La Palma en estos años fue responsable apenas del 3% e incluso nos podemos aseverar que del 2014 para adelante este valor pudo haber disminuido mientras que otros componentes de este pastel crecieron. ¿Por qué podemos aseverar esto? Porque a partir del año 2017 el sector palmero se comprometió en llevar una política libre de deforestación. Los cultivos como tal se siembran en zonas netamente agrícolas. Para que haya un permiso de siembra, el cultivador tiene que sacar una licencia ambiental y para que la autoridad ambiental les dé este permiso de siembra, hay un cruce con las áreas de protección y las áreas de alto valor de conservación. Estos son los datos oficiales y yo quiero destacar que a nivel local y a nivel mundial La Palma ha sido siempre satanizada, a nivel local también, pero estos datos oficiales nos muestran que en realidad La Palma no es la culpable de la deforestación en nuestro país. En esta lado nosotros vamos a mostrar cómo ha sido la evolución de la producción en los últimos años. Hasta el año 2017, La Palma mantuvo un crecimiento del 5% en promedio anual. Sin embargo, a partir del año 2017 en adelante se ve una contracción de aproximadamente el 9%. Esto se dio básicamente por varios factores, pero el principal es la afectación por la pudrición del cogollo, que es una plaga que afectó principalmente a la provincia de Esmeraldas. Es la provincia que en su momento fue la responsable del 40% de la producción. Por lo tanto, podemos ver que estas cifras, la sensibilidad y cómo ha sido el avance y la afectación de esta enfermedad. De esta contracción, en el último año o para este 2022, nosotros esperamos que el Ecuador va a producir 382.000 toneladas de aceite de palma. De este aceite, el 30% ya se encuentra certificado. Básicamente, entre los medianos y grandes productores son los que ya han obtenido su certificación y tenemos un trabajo pendiente con los pequeños productores en lo que nosotros como Propalma queremos apoyarles para que ellos también puedan certificarse. Aquí es importante destacar que el Ecuador consume aproximadamente 100.000 toneladas de aceite de palma y el resto se exporta. Hasta el 2018 prácticamente el 60% era la exportación, sin embargo ahora las cifras han cambiado y el 70% es consumo local y el 30% de exportación. ¿Qué quiero demostrar con esto? Que la palma sigue siendo un cultivo que apoya igual a la alimentación frente a todo lo que hemos vivido en este panorama mundial con la crisis y la guerra de Ucrania. La palma estuvo siempre en la mesa de los ecuatorianos. Sin embargo, hay un trabajo muy importante y es por eso que yo quiero resaltar ahora que hay una gran oportunidad para nuestro país y también para el mundo, y esta oportunidad se basa básicamente en la activación del cultivo de palma con variedades que ya han sido desarrolladas a nivel local en el Ecuador, también con apoyo de Colombia. Tenemos una variedad que es Coari por Lame y quiero demostrar ahorita qué es lo que como Palma, un gremio que es relativamente nuevo. Nosotros tenemos aproximadamente 3 años como Propalma, como el gremio o la federación que agrupa a los productores de aceite de palma, a las extractoras también y a los refinadores. Y como gremio nosotros estamos trabajando en la reactivación del sector palmero porque vemos con buenos ojos y vemos que la palma ha sido desarrollo y sinónimo de ingresos para los productores. Las cifras que voy a mostrar prácticamente son cifras del año promedio 2021-22, pero básicamente la palma, el cultivo que es la variedad Coari por Lame, es una variedad que es altamente tolerante a la pudrición del cogollo, es una esperanza para los productores que han perdido sus plantaciones, como les decía, aproximadamente 110.000 hectáreas han perdido en los últimos 4 años. El promedio nacional del cultivo es alrededor de 12 toneladas por hectárea de producción de fruta fresca por hectárea. Y con esta variedad nosotros podemos llegar a producir 40 toneladas por hectárea. Asimismo, en las tasas de extracción, el promedio como Ecuador, tenemos 2.3 toneladas de hectárea. Y con esta variedad podríamos llegar a 5 a 10 toneladas de aceite de palma por hectárea. Por otro lado, la tasa de extracción de aceite también es mayor. En promedio, la tasa actual es del 20%, mientras que con esta variedad nosotros podemos llegar a una tasa de extracción de 24-26%, también con la aplicación de una hormona de crecimiento que se llama ANT. Esta variedad es tiene alto contenido de aceite oleico, tiene alta calidad, tiene alto contenido de vitaminas A, vitamina E, también tiene baja acidez, lo cual es muy apreciado por la industria como tal. ¿Y por qué les digo que es una esperanza y también es nuestro aliado para la reactivación? Porque con la misma cantidad de superficie que hemos perdido en el país, 110,000 hectáreas que se han perdido, nosotros podemos llegar a reactivar estas 110,000 hectáreas y lograr la sostenibilidad económica y también sostenibilidad ambiental, porque no es necesario crear la frontera agrícola. Al momento se han perdido 726 millones de dólares en inversión en el campo. Con esta variedad se puede recuperar esa inversión, aproximadamente 871 millones que se requieren. Se han perdido 253,000 toneladas. Con la misma variedad y en la misma superficie, nosotros podemos llegar a crecer en 550,000 toneladas de aceite de palma y con esto mejorar también los ingresos a los productores, de 288 millones a 626 millones de ingresos a los productores, que se traducen básicamente en 626 millones también de dólares para la exportación. Entonces, para nosotros es muy importante trabajar en la reactivación del sector primero y con ello, con esta variedad, lo vemos que es económicamente sostenible. También como ProPalma, como hemos visto, la nueva legislación europea hacia donde
Angela, sorry, I have to interrupt you and give you a minute because we are really running out of time. I apologize.
Perfecto. Solamente para aquí mostrarles, como ProPalma estamos trabajando en un piloto. Es muy importante para nosotros la trazabilidad. Nosotros tenemos actualmente georreferenciado a todos los palmicultores del Ecuador. Sin embargo, queremos avanzar a otro paso, que es a realizar un mapeo de cada una de las fincas y poder liderar la finca como tal, llegando a obtener su polígono. Para nosotros es muy importante y para poder monitorear la deforestación, que en este caso, como le decimos como país, estamos en menos del 3%. Básicamente, y para finalizar, nosotros como ProPalma somos parte del Comité Interinstitucional de Seguimiento de la Palma Sostenible, que es que está conformado por actores del sector público, el sector privado, la academia a nivel nacional, y que lo que es políticas y también acciones y estrategias para la producción de aceite de palma sostenible y con eso también poder diferenciarnos a nivel internacional. Gracias, Pietro. Muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, and I apologize for interrupting you. This is the worst thing ever, to interrupt people when they are bringing so important information. And Angela, we make sure, as in the case of Juan and later of Alfonso and Karen, that we will certainly bring this, I would say, exceptional information here in Europe and make sure that policymakers and institutions are aware of the great investments you're doing, the great opportunities, particularly for smallholders and very much in research and development when you mentioned, and also offline, you are talking to me about this variety that is going to improve productivity. And one of the biggest challenge of vegetable oils, particularly of palm oil, but all the other oils, is the capacity to improve productivity, because there would be always a higher and higher demand. And so thank you so much for being here for the first time and bringing the voice of a new rising country being Ecuador. Let me go now to a very surprising country, though, that is Guatemala, and particularly with Karen Rosales representing Great Palma. And certainly Guatemala is a surprise because it's exporting so much to Europe and making such a big effort for sustainability, financial sustainability, but particularly environmental sustainability. And when we talk about Guatemala, I have to talk about my country, Italy, because I didn't know about Guatemala, and this is in our most recent report. And if you're interested, please contact us, and we'll be able and happy to share the report with you. But Guatemala is exporting to Europe a lot, and is the first exporter to Italy. So those are great numbers. Karen, the floor is yours. I still see Angela, so probably you have to turn on your mic.
Thank you very much, Pietro.
Yes, here you are. Thank you so much, and great seeing you again.
Do you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Good morning and good afternoon to all. I thank Pietro and Competere for this invitation. My name is Karen Rosales. I am the Executive Director of Grepalma. Let me talk a little bit about what Grepalma is and what are we doing in Guatemala. I have the enormous challenge to speak about what we are doing in 8 minutes, so I will do my best. Grepalma is a business association that brings together the small, medium, and large companies that are producing palm oil. And our goal, as you can see, is to obtain the sustainable development of Guatemala's palm oil agri-industry. We work mainly under 5 strategic axes. There are representation of the industry, political advocacy, sustainability as a main axis, and strategic communication and technical development. We are now implementing action through capacity building, strategic alliance like we have with Competere right now, programs and projects, and we are always trying to generate information and a statistic that I am very happy to share with all of you today. Let me talk about what are now in Guatemala. How is the Guatemalan oil palm production? In Guatemala, there are 180,614 hectares of oil palm cultivation. This crop is currently being monitored almost in real time by Sattelligence. That Sattelligence is a Dutch organization with whom we are monitoring growth without deforestation, but I will talk about this later. According to information handled by Ministry of Agriculture, the extension of palm cultivation in our country represents only 1.66% of the national territory. 57% of the cultivation, as you can see in the map, are in the northern part of the country, 20% in the northeast, and the rest in the southern region of the country. At the national level, we are working with 228 producers, which 52 of them are small producers. It means that they have less than 50 hectares of crops. You can see in the map, each red dot represents a mill. Currently in the country, we are working with 21 mills with a total installed capacity of 1,053 tons of French fruit bunches per hour. Despite the fact that we are the 13th country in terms of the area of cultivation worldwide, due to the high level of productivity and efficiency that we are having in Guatemala, we are now the 6th largest producer in the world and 2nd producer in Latin America in terms of volume of palm oil produced. In 2021, Guatemala produced around 932 tons of metric CPO, which is a global market share of 1.25%. Of this production, 79% is for export and 21% for local consumption. As Pietro said, one of our main destinations today is the European Union. The average, my colleagues were talking about the yield and productivity and efficiency, and Juan said that productivity is one of the first steps to sustainability, and we in Guatemala, actually to 2021, the average national yield is 5.86 tons CPO per hectare, and the global average is around 3.7 tons per hectare. In Guatemala, there are even regions that are, due to their characteristic and crop management, are above 7 tons per hectare. So we are now recognized as a country #1 in global productivity. We are the 2nd largest in Latin American producing in terms of volume and the 6th largest producer in the world. Let me talk about how is the Guatemalan palm oil situation in the world. Now, Guatemala is the 3rd global exporter. As Pietro said, also, Guatemala CPO actually in the country is the first export product to the European Union. Also, Guatemala CPO, the first export product to Mexico. There are the two main destinations of our country. And also Guatemala represents the fourth export product. The CPO of Guatemala represents the fourth export product to Central America. And you can see in this graphic how have been the export destination since 2017 to date. The main export destinations, as you can see now, is Italy, Spain. You can see how it's growing our exports to Italy and also to Spain. We have maintained the exports to Netherlands. And also in Germany, we export a little bit of CPO to Germany and other countries of the region. Trade with the European Union has grown in general terms for 2017 to date, mainly due to the volumes exported to these two main countries where we are working very close together. The demand for vegetable oils, especially in contexts such as that we are facing today, as the war in Ukraine, Russia, also to that we were facing related to COVID and also with the logistic crisis, makes us analyze the behavior of vegetable oils. And many conclusions points to vegetable oil, that is palm oil, well produced, is safe, resilient, and sustainable alternative that can meet the growing demand of both also for food and also for biofuels. And let me talk a little bit about how are we working on sustainability. In each space that I have the opportunity to mention it, I try to share that when we talk about palm oil, it is important to know that I can produce palm oil very well or very badly. This is important to say. When there is a problem associated with palm oil, it is not because of palm oil itself, but because of the production model. So we in Repalma focus on the production model, and we work with all our producers about the production model. I have been working in the field of sustainability and industry for more than 15 years. 3 years ago, I happily joined the palm oil sector, and it's really exciting for me to find a single sector and how this sector is working very close with clean production, with circular economy principles, and we are working and produce palm oil very well. In the case of Guatemala, and what we promote from Repalma is a systematic approach to sustainability. Currently, more than 60% of palm oil in Guatemala is already certified by RSPO and ISC, that are two of the most important certification schemes for palm oil cultivation. 2 weeks ago, we just had the representatives of RSPO of Latin America here in Guatemala, and they confirmed that according to the volume of palm oil already certified, Guatemala leads not only in terms of productivity, but also in terms of sustainability. What do the country's palm oil companies do, and what do we promote from Repalma? We promote, for example, this study, the GHG study in oil palm production in Guatemala, that we developed it in 2018, and it demonstrates that palm oil sector is a low emission sector here in the country. Also, we have developed the environmental and climate change policy that is assumed by Repalma and its member. We work with the Ministry of Environmental and an environmental guide of how every producer has to produce palm oil, working in sustainability issues. Also in 2019, we launched the public statement of the Volunteer Zero Deforestation Commitment, and I will share to you a little bit more about how are we working on the Zero Deforestation Commitment. We work in the human rights respect policy that also is assumed by Repalma and its members. And, we promote many practices in our in our companies. For example, practices such as palm seeds are carefully selected for the establishment of the crop because of the seeds. You can imagine, as Angela shared us before, how will be the productivity of the crop and how much water you need, how much practices in the agricultural field you need. Producers are using biological insecticides, minimal use of agrochemicals when it is really necessary. Compost are being produced with the empty bunches and the wastewater resulting from the mills. In fact, in Guatemala, let me share to you that we have 3 of the largest composters in Latin America, which allow us to reduce more than 12,000 tons of agrochemical use per year. Companies associated to Repalma have implemented systems to capture rainwater and clean technologies to reduce water use. Also, we have implemented clean technologies to generate clean energy from the renewable sources. And let me share a little bit more about the Zero Deforestation Voluntary Commitment. We're not starting this route to sustainability. As you can see on my presentation, we began in 2018 with the establishment of the climate change policy by Repalma and its member. It had 8 axes of working. In 2019, in response to the conservation and restoration of biological diversity, Repalma and its members signed the public statement of voluntary zero deforestation. We began with Satelligence, that is a Dutch organization, the satellite monitoring study for the sustainable development of palm oil in Guatemala, not only to assure that we are going to grow with no deforestation, but also to know what happened before, since the crop was established in Guatemala. We are now continue working with the National Monitoring System for the Sustainable Development of Palm Oil. We have a permanent satellite monitoring of palm plantation. I can take my cell phone and see almost in real time how is the crop being here in Guatemala, and assuring no deforestation for the expansion of it. And we established a cross-agency working group on zero deforestation, integrated by academy, by government, by social participation of many NGOs. And let me share with you what the study said through this analysis that Satelligence held. According to these satellite images of the period of 1989 to 2020, more than 90% of the palm oil cultivation in Guatemala is planted in low carbon areas. And also we see how was the situation of deforestation in Guatemala, and the study say to us that just 0.67% of the deforestation of Guatemala since 1989 to 2020 is due to oil palm. And here I share with you the reports of Satelligence since October 2020 to December 2021, and we already have the first trimester of this year, and we are assuring that 0 hectares for the growing of palm oil cultivation is related to deforestation in our country. Also, on the other hand, the social part is really relevant for us. So I want to show you how are we also working on the respect of human rights, advancing on the respect of human rights. In 2014 and 2018, Repalma and its members signed a commitment to respect human rights, working together with another business organization in the country. In 2020, Repalma was the first agricultural sector that began and launched their first policy about respect of human rights. We are working together with ILO, the International Labour Organization, on this issue. We are working on the policy implementation. We developed a guide on risk management in human rights that it's on our site. You can download it and use if it is useful for you. We have created a virtual resource centers, business due diligence and fair hiring. And in fact, last week, we confirmed with the support with ILO to working on more program and trainees program to assure the respect for human rights, and also to work on a barometer of how the companies here in Guatemala are together working to strengthen the capacities and the training all the people in these companies to assure the respect for human rights. So we are working on the environmental, we're working on the social aspects, and assure the sustainability, and also promoting well-being in rural Guatemala. As my colleague said, we are working in rural areas of our country, and we know that we have to going beyond business. And that's why I can share with you a little bit of information of how many persons or people are going are working with our sector, about 46,000 people.
Karen, sorry, 1 minute.
Okay.
Sorry.
Was the benefit during 2021, more than 89 initiatives to support education for more than 12,000 children and young people. More than 28 hectares are being preserved in the Maya Biosphere Reserve by the members of Repalma. Also, we promote local investment to improve road infrastructure, facilitate access to drinking water and electrification, And of course, the generation of employment, more than 30,000 direct jobs, more than 150,000 indirect jobs. So palm oil, well managed, and with the sustainability as as a transversal issue, it supports what all of us are doing. We are really committed with the Sustainable Development Goals. We already launched a document that said how we, as Guatemala and the palm oil sector, are contributing to 12 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and we are working hard to reach and to contribute to reach at 2030. So thank you very much, Pietro. It was a challenge time to share what we're doing in Guatemala.
Thank you, Karen. Please stop sharing the screen. I was laughing very loud earlier myself, of course, because as an Italian, or my roots are here in Italy, I believed firmly that Latin people from Central America could speak for only 8 minutes. But I realized with all the passion you have, I could have given you 20 hours, and you, Angela, and Juan would have spoken for 30 hours. And that shows all, as I said, the passion, the commitment, and the engagement you have with the work you do. But it's not just words; it's a lot of content. There's a lot of things that you are actually doing. And I was very much impressed, and I was aware of the satellite technology that you are using. And you mentioned correctly, you have a lot of reports, very well done and fine reports on your website. We've wrote an article on the Sustainable Nutrition page, also an article about most recent facts about Colombia. We're really running out of time, and Patricia, who is our translator originally from Argentina, she knows how long you go. So Patricia will pay the price for being here with us a bit longer. But let me go with our last speaker, and then we do a very quick round of questions, but very, very quick, because we're really behind our schedule. And I'm very proud of. We said we have Angela from Ecuador for the first time here with us, but for the first time we also have a representative of an African country and an African oil producing association, and I'm talking about Alphonsus Liang from Nigeria, who is the president of the National Palm Producers Association. So Alphonsus, few weeks ago, I was reading our last report and the import of Nigerian palm oil to Europe, and I was shocked how much palm oil we're getting from Nigeria. But still, I read that you are buying a lot of your palm oil abroad from Asia because you're consuming a lot, and certainly you have such a gigantic population. So, Alphonsus, the floor is yours. I'm not sure you have a presentation, otherwise. Feel free to speak. I'm asking as an Italian to a Nigerian to speak for 8 minutes, so this is a big challenge. My floor is yours.
Thank you, Pietro. Thank you, Pietro. Thank you for this opportunity. Unfortunately, I'm the only one without a slide. We had some technical issues in the plantation, but this must go on. But I can promise you, and as soon as possible, we'll get it across to you for the benefit of others.
Please.
Thank you for this opportunity to tell the African story the Nigerian way. Well, Nigeria, the largest country in Africa, and over 200 million population. I will talk basically about 4 points: the current realities, the economic impact of oil palm in rural communities and among smallholders, the annual targets 2023 to 2028, and then lastly, I will talk about oil palm, the environment, and endangered species, the kind of models we have adopted to take care of this. So looking at the current realities,
it seems we have a problem with Alphonsus. Are you here? Yes, we lost you for
I'm back to you. Sorry about that, Hitch.
It's okay.
Talking about current realities, we produce about 1.4 million tons in Nigeria currently, but we import almost the same volume every year of over $500 million of import of palm oil every year to Nigeria. So But imports, exports into Europe have been increasing in the last 5 years, especially to the United Kingdom, Italy, Spain, Germany, and France. That's in Western Europe. So we have over 2 million hectares of planted area, but mostly by smallholders. And they are mostly wild palm that are producing quite less in quantity per hectare. And this has not helped the economy of the smallholder farmers, and neither has it helped the economy of the country and that of the rural communities. So in terms of volume of production per hectare, the story is not that good. But looking at this, we have looked at it that in the rural communities, especially as it concerns smallholder farmers, oil palm has been one of the major ways of empowering the smallholder farmers, rural households, women and the youth in rural communities. The reason is because they engage in this growing in micro and small level of processing and milling of palm oil at household levels, at community levels, and at cluster levels in their maybe community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, and gender-based organizations, women, youth, and girls, and all that. So in processing palm oil in these small units, they have helped to conserve they are there to conserve profit and make more profit for themselves because they grow the palm oil, they harvest, they aggregate, and then they process and now push them into the rural markets, from the rural market to the subnational markets at subnational levels, and then markets at national levels. So it has really helped to empower economically rural households, those that are participating in oil palm production. And then palm oil, Nigeria has 36 subnational entities. That's 36 states. And out of the 36 states, 24 of them have comparable advantage in the production of oil palm. And then out of these 26 states, not much investment have been made in the last 20 years by government at both national and subnational levels. And this has not helped in increasing production per hectare and then empowering the rural household who are mostly smallholder farmers. And our association, the national, because I will not be able to speak for government because I don't belong to government. I am a leader of smallholder farmers. And as their leader, I will speak about what concerns the smallholder farmers and by extension, the industry. The industry is our own, but we have not been able to get policymakers, those who implement these policies who are at government, at national and subnational levels, to see light in the arguments we have been making, in the presentation we have been making over the years. And then you look at this, much budget have been made for other crops, rice, cowpea, cotton, sorghum, and other short gestation period crops. But in terms of oil palm, the government have not been able to give us a governance structure, not a board and not a council, for the development, for the incentivization of the industry, for the attraction of investment into the industry. And this has not helped the economy of the smallholders, neither has it helped that of oil palm industry. But our association, with membership of over 500,000 in 24 states in Nigeria, we have been able to set our targets, and we started working on developing these targets. And we have set a target of having to garner support from development partners in Nigeria, within Africa, Europe, America, and other parts of the world to develop 250,000 hectares every year, starting 2023 to 2028. 250,000 hectares of palm oil plantations every year. And we have looked at that. We will need planting materials, that is seedlings, of over 37 million seedlings every year. That is quite a huge amount of investment. But for us to be able to close the gap between import and exports, we will have to invest that much to be able to produce 250,000 hectares, develop 250,000 hectares of oil palm every year. And then in doing this, we are not encouraging big plantations. We are targeting more on the smallholders who currently produce 80% of the national volume of production. The smallholders produce 80% of the national volume. And we are targeting the smallholders, and that's what led us to launch. The One Household 20 Palm Trees program. And this One Household 20 Palm Trees program is to help families develop their economies, increase in nutrition, improve lives and livelihood, develop their communities, and spread prosperity on the streets of rural people who are mostly smallholders. And this program will do many things for the smallholder farmers and their environment and economy. Number one, it will improve on their economy. Number two, it will conserve their environment, because when they plant palm trees around their houses and their environments, it helps as windbreaker to protect their rural houses from being blown, the roofs of their rural houses from being blown off by wild wind. It will also help to conserve the environment, fight gully erosion, and help the production to be sustainable. And in developing this model, we have also looked at the fact that these rural households might not have the climate smart technology to process well, and so that they can be sustainable. We are looking at appointing aggregators in every clusters of the rural communities, and then getting them to aggregate the production from the smallholders, from the households, and now take them to the mini milling centers that were appointed per cluster for processing, for onward transmission into the national production baskets, which will help to increase production for the country and thereby promoting export in a higher quantity. So this model, we are looking at, Pietro and my colleagues, we are looking at it in a way that it will help over 5 million rural households in Nigeria. When they plant their palm oil, but their palm trees in their environment, and they harvest, and they sell to the central body, and then they earn a living from there, and then use it to pay school fees, to increase and improve their family economic condition. It will help in the improving nutrition, increasing nutrition, improve lives and livelihood, and then the general economic condition of the environment. We believe that this will bring more people out of poverty and kick them out of the dump of the rural communities by engaging themselves actively in oil palm production, aggregation, and processing. Then that is it about that model. And then by the time I send in our papers, you will look at it in more detailed way. Then lastly, we have also looked at oil palm, the environment, and endangered species. In this model, we don't encourage big plantations, because we understand that WWF does not support any longer large plantations. So we are looking at encouraging population of the environment with palm trees, not necessarily dedicated large plantations of thousands of hectares. All we want is palm trees, and palm trees that will produce, palm trees that will conserve the environment, palm trees that will protect the rural houses from wind as windbreakers, palm trees that will put something in the hand of rural smallholder farmers to take to markets. And by so doing, the environment is conserved, the rural population is conserved, and their economy improved, and wildlife can have their free range in the deep forest.
Alfonso, I have to interrupt you because we're really behind our schedule, and I really have to close. I should close now, but I want to make a very quick question to all of you. I start with you, Alfonso. You get very important number. You talk about 5 million households. These are a gigantic number, particularly for us in Europe, and I appreciate it very much, the passion, and I would say the political statement that you made. And again, we will make sure that your voice is very much heard here in Europe, and we understand here in Europe the big effort, the gigantic effort you are doing, and how much palm trees are important for your community, not just for creating prosperity, but also for protecting and safeguarding your community. But you mentioned sustainability, and one of the major driver of European policies today, I would say, is sustainability. In 1 minute, what is the big challenge for 5 million people that are entering the palm oil community? How can they address, and how can you address sustainability to them? What do you need to make these small plantations, so not the big ones, not the large industry, but the small plantation, sustainable?
Well, the major needs are in the areas of planting materials, inputs, the seedlings for distribution to the smallholder farmers and the rural households, the inputs that they need to increase and improve yield in these small unit plantations around their houses and their environments, and then technical support in terms of extension service is majorly needed by these rural people, and the last, logistical support for the distribution of these planting materials. Majorly, it is the planting materials and the inputs that is needed. They are ready to go to farm. They don't have the means of procuring the seedlings and the other inputs. When seedlings are made available, they are ready to go to farm and make themselves available for economic prosperity and development.
Thank you so much, Alfonso. Thank you for being here and for bringing the voice of Africa. And let me be a bit provocative. I was expecting you to say that, but the palm tree is coming from Africa and it's expanding everywhere. And finally, it's coming back in Africa again, where it actually belongs and where it comes. That
is it. Yeah, that is it. Thank you.
That is it. But don't make a statement on that, otherwise we'll never end. Let me now turn instead to Central America, where they took your palm trees and they are making a gigantic, no, I wouldn't say a business, but they are making a way of living and the way of life in a sustainable way. There's an interesting question. I had a bunch of questions and I got one on my chat, but there's one here in the chat that concerns, again, sunflower and the lack of sunflower. This is for you, Juan, and Karen is also, I would say, for you, and in a certain extent as well for Angela. The war in Ukraine it's going to change your policies. It's going to change your strategy, considering also the very strict legislation that Europe is developing right now. Is this an opportunity for you? I would say, sadly, it's an opportunity because of what is going on. Is anything that is going to change? And do you see this as an opportunity to prosper more and invest more? Juan, I will go with you.
Great, thank you. I was expecting the ladies first, but no problem.
You say you have to leave, that's why.
No, don't worry. I'm still here. I have some time to finish this very nice discussion. Well, yes and no is the answer, because we know that Europe is not going to change what they're doing and what they're expecting with the regulations. We were able to visit Europe a couple of weeks ago, and the messages we received from the Commission, from the Parliament, is that they're going to do the regulation. They're really committed with it. We saw that last week with the results. So probably in a year, maybe a little bit more, but probably in a year, we'll have this new regulation focused with due diligence. So we have to keep on the work to be able to comply and to have especially smallholders into a scheme that works even for them. So in that sense, we will keep that work going. It's an opportunity, of course it is. We know it's not only about Ukraine, we know it's about global demands for vegetable oils. The world needs more vegetable oils, and palm is the best solution. No other crop will need as less land as to produce oil as palm oil. So it's kind of, well, if you want to address sustainability, you need palm oil. And if probably what will happen in the next years is that, and we believe that what's happening with Ukraine and the deficit and the circumstances will probably help a little bit more to build this conscience that we have to work with sustainable palm oil, not with no palm oil. And that would be probably the message that we would like to people to listen.
Thank you so much, Juan. And you said there's no alternative to palm oil but sustainable palm oil. And the paradox is that in this sad situation of the war in Ukraine, we figure out here in Europe the importance of palm oil. And we also, with the numbers that Alfonso was giving us, we're talking about 7 billion people living out of the Western world, and how crops like oil palm are so important. You mentioned the European Parliament. I like to everybody following us and who is following us online on Facebook or YouTube and who will watch this video again. That last week we made a podcast with the rapporteur of the European Parliament on the Farm to Fork, and he gave us a beautiful statement on palm oil and the importance of sustainable palm oil and how sustainable palm oil is now being acknowledged. Finally, I would say, after all this effort. But we say in Italy, whatever happens has a purpose. And so all these fights you guys went through have made palm oil so much sustainable and so much ahead of any other crop. And we have, and that's why we're talking about it, because great work has been done. But I'm coming to you, Karen, and then I will close with Angela. Karen, productivity is one of the biggest challenges. And for you now, exporting a lot to Europe, and we saw to Italy, I'm not a refiner, I'm not a buyer, so no conflict of interest. But what is the biggest challenge you have ahead?
Well, I think that it's related to what we are talking about. The biggest challenge, I think, is all the investment certainty, dealing with trade regulations and restrictions that may affect trade. Palm oil has proven to be not only the most productive and efficient option due to the amount of oil that can be produced from 1 hectare of land, making less use of fertilizer compared to other crops. And these initiatives and regulations that are emerging to, for example, curb or stop deforestation must consider a technical approach to this. If palm oil is removed, as we were talking about many webinars ago, the demand of other oils will grow. And because of the land use required, the probability of being a driver for deforestation also grows. So I think the main challenge is all these kind of regulations that are dealing with the trade. What are we thinking of, and what we do as Grepalma is conceive sustainability also as part of the business model, not as a requirement to accomplish, because the rule of the game is going to change all the time. 3 weeks ago, I was participating in the oils retreat that was held in London, organized by LMC International. And it was pretty interesting that we were talking with the main producer of vegetable oil. And it was interesting to analyze how the volatility of palm oil worldwide has decreased, mainly because we have diversified production geographically. Obviously, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand continue and will continue to have the most have the share of more than 80% of the market. But the fact that we are seeking to produce more palm oil in a sustainable manner in our countries, I think help to ensure supply and address any situation that may arise in the different regions, has been the effect of climate change, labor shortage, and others. If we consider the global climate agenda also that promotes the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, being the production of biofuels and sustainable aviation fuels, the demand for vegetables oil will go from 220 million tons to more than 300 million by 2040. How are we going to ensure that production? It's a really big challenge for all of us. So
Indeed,
interesting
Karen.
to analyze it.
Indeed, Karen, thanks a lot, because that's the biggest challenge we have. We have ahead. The challenge I have right now is to be on time, but I'm not on time. But we brought so many arguments. We started from the raising stars of resiliency. So, Angela, I'm coming to you. What is the big challenge that, as Ecuador, a small rising star, far in the universe of Central America, looking in a way you're looking on the other side of the board, but Europe is now our home where we are right now. What's the biggest challenge you have? Are you afraid of these policies, or you think you can deal with it?
Muchas gracias, Pietro, por tu pregunta. Básicamente para nosotros, y como ya lo habíamos visto y lo mencionaron nuestros colegas, creo que el desafío más grande es mejorar en productividad, porque si no mejoramos en productividad, no vamos a tener una sostenibilidad económica que incentive también al productor. Eso creo que es lo principal. Pero como les mencionaba en la presentación, nosotros tenemos una gran oportunidad en nuestras manos, y es básicamente trabajar con variedades que son mucho más productivas que la variedad normal, la guinensis. Y con trabajando con nuevas variedades, nosotros podemos crecer en productividad sin necesidad de crecer en frontera agrícola. Y eso nos hace también a nosotros un país sostenible. Como tú mencionabas, y ya se ha mencionado en el webinar, creo que la guerra entre Rusia y Ucrania nos deja también una lección, y básicamente es que nunca va a poder desaparecer el aceite de palma. Existen entre 10, 11 millones que se producen entre Rusia y Ucrania, y el aceite de palma podría tranquilamente lograr ese suministro, pero entre Indonesia y Malasia, tal vez con el crecimiento que tiene, tal vez podría ser unos 2, 3 millones adicionales, y hay todavía una brecha que podría ser cubierto por nuestros países, por Latinoamérica, por Centroamérica, y para nosotros como un país tan pequeño que apenas tenemos 250,000 hectáreas, que en esta pequeña superficie podemos llegar luego a crecer, triplicar nuestra producción y poder ofrecer ese excedente para el mundo, para abastecer la producción, para abastecer el consumo mundial, que hoy por hoy está teniendo muchos problemas, y justamente hablábamos de la seguridad alimentaria. Entonces creo que es muy importante para nosotros como país muy pequeño traer inversión para fomentar las siembras responsables y sostenibles. El país como tal ya tiene un compromiso medioambiental, y nuestra posibilidad ahora es diversificar, llegar a países como la Unión Europea, que va a ser nuestro principal destino de exportación, con un producto realmente que se ha producido socialmente y económicamente sostenible, pero también que se ha producido en áreas de suelos agrícolas sin necesidad de deforestar. Tenemos 110,000 hectáreas donde podemos crecer y podríamos llegar a 1 millón.
Thank you, Angela. And there was no better way to end with this sweet and beautiful Spanish that it remains to be one of the best and most lovable languages. Just to say that our challenge, our challenge at the Sustainable Nutrition is not to grow palm oil or any crop, but is to bring your voice to the European regulator and legislator. And we will publish, there is already online the full video, but we will publish the video clip in which the rapporteur of the Farm to Fork state the importance of sustainable palm oil and the great leap forward that the industry has done in the past years, thanks to the European Union. Actually, tomorrow morning, very early, I will and Competere will be at the Senate in an audition exactly on the resiliency of sustainable palm oil. So we will address the Italian policymaker exactly, and we'll bring certainly your voice. Don't forget, if you're interested, our most recent studies on import of palm oil in Italy and in Europe, and in early August there will be a new release of the study, and every month there will be a new version with a focus on a specific country or importing country. Very interesting number. This is the last for the summer roundtable of the sustainable nutrition. Fewer people than usual, but I know it's summer in Europe. Many other countries are already on holidays. I know in Central America or in some part of America, or Africa, different traditions. So you have been here with us, but thanks for everybody that's been on Facebook, on YouTube, and here on Zoom. It was great. And I think we demonstrated one thing, that oil palm is here because it's sustainable, because it's safe, it's secure, and of course, it's resilient. I want to thank, in order, Angela from Ecuador and from Pro Palma, Karen from Guatemala, from Gre Palma, and then Juan from Fede Palma in Colombia, and then our new friend from Nigeria, Alphonsus, for all being here with us. Stay with us. We'll be back in September. And in September, we will also be hosting a meeting at the European Parliament, where you will receive all our invitation. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your life and be safe and good luck.